Thank you for watching my course, Tent Maker. I hope it has been a useful resource for you as you have thought about and are thinking about taking your next steps, whatever season of life you find yourself in, for how to build wealth, how to create passive assets for your life, and all pointing to leaving a legacy, leaving a reputational and a financial legacy one day for your children's children. The hope is that we would all sit in the seat of the prudent man from Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. And we've anchored our why over this course in Scripture. We've looked at the life of Boaz and the amount of bandwidth and resources that he has to lead people, to serve people, to care for people, and to meet needs. When God brings a need into his life, he is ready to use his wealth to serve people and not use people to get more wealth. And then we looked at the parable of the talents and how stewardship, how we're defining stewardship, is turning what God has given to us, even if it's $1, into more for God's glory and participation in the redemption of all things. This is the foundation of what it means to be a tent maker. Then we looked at fundraising as a season, not in perpetuity, not for forever, but if you find yourself as a church planter today or a missionary or you're raising money for a non-profit, but let's look at it during a season. Let's define our why, define our reason, but specifically define the season that we're going to fundraise for so that then we can move towards creating income-producing passive assets that build wealth and allow us to leave an inheritance for our children's children. From there, we looked at really the first step is defining the life you desire to live, which is not necessarily a budget type of living, but what we call creating your expense buckets. And so I shared with you our personal expense buckets during this season of our life. The expense buckets will change, but what this does is it allows us to guard against lifestyle creep. Then I showed you the bell curve or the evolution of an idea, and I'm asking you where you best give energy and bring value and receive energy with your gift sets, how God has created you on that bell curve. And that's important because you're going to either automate, you're going to either delegate, or you're going to either eliminate the things that rob you of the energy of where you're not best using the gifts God has given you on that bell curve, that evolution of an idea. Because the evolution of idea turns into a business, it turns into an organization, it turns into a church, and we want to be honest with ourselves about how we're going to begin to set up our lives to create income-producing assets with the gift sets that God has given to us. And then we talked finally about creating income-producing assets and all the steps that it takes to go ahead and set up 4 ways that you're already building wealth, to go ahead and partner with different people, the runway to save $25,000, find different partners, do it all over again, repeat the process. When you have partners, it's shared liability, and then you are on your way to creating these assets that are providing for your major expense buckets in your life. But most importantly, what I want to challenge you to do is always think about giving it all away. I want us to be gospel-centered entrepreneurs, gospel-centered tent makers. I want us to plant churches. I want us to start different redemptive businesses. I want us to create as many income-producing assets as we can. And really, I use this phrase a lot. I want us to be greedy for all the resources that we can go after because we are going to steward them well. We're going to turn them into more, and we're going to give it all away. We are going to have lifestyles and legacies of generosity. That's the whole purpose of tent making. The purpose of tent making is bringing the principles of Proverbs 13, 22, the life of Boaz, the parable of the talents to life, the descriptive ministry of the Apostle Paul to life, both in our life and in our hearts. But ultimately, we want to be like Jesus. Jesus gave everything. He gave his life away to us. He died for sin. He rose from death and freely gives us salvation. And so we want to be like him in everything that we have. And so one way to think about being like him is that when you have these expense buckets already defined, you're creating these passive assets. The whole time, you're practicing biblical tithing. You're giving 10% plus of everything you make away. But over time, you're going to see that your income just gradually creeps up. And it's going to continue to rise as you're faithful to push play on all the processes of that we talked about in the last session of building wealth and creating income producing assets. It's going to go from 4 to 8 to 12 to, Lord willing, who knows how many that are assets that are going to be providing for you. What you're going to have to always guard against is I want you to always think about your baseline of living. This is everything that under this line is all of your expenses, this dotted line here. This is your mortgage. If you eventually pay it off, great. This is all your transportation expenses. This is your private school for your kids. I don't know if you will do that or not, but you might have a major expense here. This is daily living expenses, Christmas vacation, different ways that you are investing, your 403b, your Roth IRA, everything that you have, savings, put it all under this line. And everything above that, I want you to think about how you are going to give it all away. Everything here, as your lifestyle increases, and as you continue to see this grow even more and more and more, there's going to be more and more room where you're going to have an opportunity to practice generosity and model your life after Jesus. And you're going to have more and more opportunity to meet needs, to care for people, to plant more churches, to send more missionaries, to give more to your local church, to help build buildings that serve the next generation, to build counseling centers, whatever it might be, because you're practicing the life of a gospel-centered tent maker, and you are saying, hey, enough is enough. I'm still in the seat of the prudent man. I'm building wealth that is going to hopefully be generational, and everything over that, I'm going to give and give and give as God brings needs into my life. And so, yes, let's be greedy for God's resources. Let's build income-producing assets that we will ultimately provide for all of our expense buckets. Let's sit in the seat of the prudent man with conviction, with confidence, with courage, and let's watch God allow us, by his grace, his mercy, build wealth, build a reputational legacy that we can leave one day to our children's children. But even more than that, let's be like Jesus. Let's give it all away. Let's be ready to have everything in the palm of our hands, open-handedly, stewarding, managing what God already owns anyway. And so I will be praying for you as you take this journey, take this next step of tent making in your life, building wealth, building a reputation, building a lifestyle of generosity that you will one day leave for your children's children.